Welcome to Oxtool. I'm Tom. Today what we're doing is a little tool review. I went to the flea market this morning and picked up a few things. One of my favorite pastimes is hunting for tools and enjoying tools, and I thought I'd share some of these finds with you guys. Nothing radical or out of the ordinary, but definitely interesting stuff, and picked up for pretty decent prices. So I can show you some of the points on some of these things, and you can appreciate them. So this flea market is in the San Francisco Bay Area, and the first Sunday of every month there's a huge antique fair on the old Alameda Naval Air Station grounds. The thing is gigantic. I find it overwhelming, actually, because there's just so much there, and basically almost have to run from one end to the other to even just see each row. But I managed to pick up a couple of things. Usually I don't find a lot of tools there there's some guys that sell tools. It's mostly furniture and other kinds of collectible items, magazines, ephemera, things like that. Anyway, we picked up a couple of tools, and I picked up another thing off Craigslist recently that I thought I'd share with you because it's just very nice. So we'll get right into it. So the first thing actually that I thought was kind of cool is, and I'll zoom in on some of these things here too. This is a homemade drill gauge is what this is. And let me grab a drill real quick. And of course, I wasn't smart enough to get a drill. So it works two ways here. One is measures the side angle. Now, of course, 50-50 chance running over there to grab a drill. This is a 135-degree split point. This is set up for standard 118 drills. Anyway, so you use this one on the side here, and this guy just made this out of a piece of flat stock, and even hand stamped some little graduations in there. And like I said, I'll zoom in on this and you can get a better look at it. So anyway, you can do the side there, and then here we can do, and like I said, the angle doesn't match because this is a split point drill. You can look at the lip lengths and stuff like that on the side. Anyway, it's just handmade, and wow, okay, looking at this really closely here, it looks like this was done on a shaper. It's got a pattern of linear lines on it that don't look like file marks. Yeah, so okay, that's even cooler. Okay, so along these surfaces here, the measuring surfaces, it looks like they used a shaper on it, which is a linear tool, and made cuts like that, and then set it up at the other angle and did it the other way, and did that on all the important surfaces. It's marked hand stamped. It says Stan Pope. There was an old company called I don't know, it's still around, Pope Grinding, which made spindles and things like that, somewhere out here in California. Maybe this is a relative. Anyway, it's kind of a cool tool. This is the kind of a thing you might find in almost any machinist toolbox. It's just kind of a neat little tool. Anyway, $1 or $2 I paid for this, so kind of neat. This nostalgic item there. So from that same guy, I got an end mill. Actually, I was going to get 2 end mills. This is just a 2-flute Morse. It's in good shape. It's kind of a nice short one, stub length. It doesn't look reground. It's been sitting in this tube for probably 30 years waiting for somebody to use it. Well, guess what? We're going to use the heck out of that. So common size high-speed tool. Anyway, the guy had 2 of them, and so I did the usual deal. You go, hey, what do you want for that, right? And so he goes, oh, let me see that, and he takes it, and he's got to look at everything, right? Well, he opens the tube, and weep, guess what falls out? My other end mill, right? And 50-50 chance, right? Of course, it falls on the corner and chips the flute. And he goes, oh, well, I'll give you a discount on that. And I go, man, that's okay, you can keep it. He goes, well, I'll give it to you for free. And I go, that's okay, you can just keep it. And maybe somebody else will buy that and you'll get your money back. So anyway, I ended up with 1 end mill. This is caught my attention here. Any kind of hardened and ground tapers. And this one has centers in it. It kind of looks like a Morse taper. I haven't measured it yet, but it's got a cylindrical section here, and then a tapered section, and it does look like a Morse. What you'd use this for, I don't know. It's possible that it's an indicating standard or something like that. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But I'll measure that and see what kind of taper that is. And it's nice to have hardened tapered objects. You can expand the IDs of the insides of tubes. If you got to cut a Morse taper, you can use this to set the compound real accurately by indicating along this to set the compound to turn a Morse taper if you're making something that needs a Morse taper on it. This looks like a number 2 here to me. Number 2 Morse. Anyway, a couple bucks, throw it in the metal bin. So end mill, Morse taper. So, and then this isn't very exciting. It's a rectangular high-speed tool bit. These make great little parallels because they're usually relatively accurately ground. This is 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch, which is just a kind of a friendly size. So it makes a nice short little parallel, or a tool bit if you need to grind a tool bit. Anyway, same thing, $1 or $2 for that. So another guy had some kind of watchmaking stuff that was interesting. So I poked around in his little bin for a while and found a couple of things. And once again, I'll zoom in on some of this stuff so you can see the details. So these are the 2 things I got from that particular guy. This is it looks like a dental tool, but what it is, it's a wax carving tool. So people that do jewelry work and whatnot have need of carving wax for doing investment castings for rings and earrings and things like that, jewelry stuff. And it had some wax on the handle that I cleaned off already. But what caught my attention on this is it's got a nice beveled, 2-sided bevel shaving thing, and he had a little piece of metal there, and I tried using it as a deburring tool, and it was actually pretty nice. So it's a good small size, and you can choke up on it and get in there and do some detailed deburring. So anyway, didn't have to make it. A couple of bucks for that, and I got these tweezers there. These from the same guy. These tweezers caught my attention, and these are Thomas Dumont, T.H. Dumont Fills. It's a Swiss company, and they're numbered like size-wise. But what caught my attention is just the detail on the taper. It's got multiple tapering surfaces coming together very nicely in the tip, and I'll zoom in on this and you can see it. They're just nice, very nicely made, and obviously high quality, and they're just have a nice fit and finish to them that caught my attention, and the tips still come together really nice. If somebody hasn't tried to turn a screw with them and wound up the nice fine little tips. Yeah, just pretty nice. I'll clean those a little bit you know, who doesn't need another pair of nice tweezers doing this kind of work, okay? Okay, so here's a fun thing. I'm walking along and I see this thing. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I still don't know. I don't know what it is. And maybe somebody out there knows what this goes to. All it says on it is made in Taiwan. I have no idea, but it's kind of this double helix, I don't know, this double tapered spring. It's very odd. It's just kind of a pleasing shape and feels kind of nice in the hand. This is the kind of stuff that catches my attention. I can't help it. Anyway, I picked it up and the guy says, "Oh, you know what that is?" And I go, "Nope." And I says, "But I must possess it." So I bought it for $2, I think it was. So if anybody out there knows what this is, let me know, because I'm kind of curious, and it's certainly an interesting shape, if nothing else. You know, maybe this is one of those things that. Yeah, I was thinking, you know, maybe it goes in for shaking drinks or something. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, oddball deal there. So, the cool find for the day, you know, what machinist can resist a nice wooden box, right? You know, I mean, we can spot these from like a half a mile away, right? So what do you do when you see a little wooden box? Well, you open it up and you take a look, right? So what was in this one is a little thing called the Indi-cal. And even with all my years, I don't want to tip it out here, but even in all my years of tool collecting, I still haven't bought one of these because I'm kind of a cheapskate. These things are well over $100 to buy new. And usually the shops that I've been in have had one or something like that that you can use. Now what this is, I'll take it out of here. What this thing does is it's for measuring internal features. So like an internal snap ring groove, an internal thread relief, something like that. An O-ring groove or something like that down inside a bore. They have some little extension pieces. Oh, I'll use my little tweezers here that I got. They have you know, these little threaded extension bars that you can put on here to get out to these different diameters. And it has a couple different little stylus tips depending on the groove. But now the way it works, you know, there's no measuring thing on here. So the idea is, and this didn't come with it, this is just mine, it's a little last word indicator. It slips in here like this. And you lock that little guy, in there. Okay. And so now you have a measuring thing on here. So what you do is, with a micrometer, you set a gap and you measure a known gap, and you calibrate the indicator against that and zero it. And then when you go into your bore, you go inside and you open this up in there, you can read the difference from your nominal set point pretty accurately with this setup here. Like I said, they're kind of expensive, so not everybody's got one in their box. But boy, when you need one of these things to measure an internal groove, you really need one. Now, it came up the other day. We wanted to measure an internal thread, and that's always a tricky thing to measure. And I'm kind of surprised that these guys here didn't come up with some little tapered cones or something like that fit on here, so that you could measure 60-degree threads with this thing too. Maybe that's a good project for somebody out there to make some little precision cones that you could calibrate on some known pitch diameter, for example, or an adjustable pitch diameter thing. And then you could go in there and you can measure the pitch diameter of internal threads, which is, if you don't have a gauge, is like really hard to do. Okay, you got to make a male plug with a known pitch, you know, actually a range, so that you can have a go no go male pitch gauge to measure an internal thread. Anyway, I always thought that would be a good addition to this little Indi-cal tool. And this is made by HB Tools in Springfield, New Jersey. The box is a little bit beat up, but everything's here. It is missing one stylus, so I'll probably have to make. It's got two here, but it's got a longer, extended one that I'll probably have to make make another one. But that isn't too difficult. So anyway, that was kind of nice. This was my big spend for the day. I was $40 for that, which I think is a pretty good price. So I asked how much, and then I went and I walked off. And anyway, as I walked around and thought about it, I was like, you know what? That's a pretty good price. Why are you fussing about it? You know, you don't have one, and you needed one the other day. So anyway, I went back and got it for $40. So that's that. And once again, I'll zoom in on all this stuff so you guys can see it. So the last thing, one more thing. And this was with the drill guy that had the little drill gauge. And is that a 118? That's a 135 too. So this is an extended drill bit, 1/4-inch diameter. The drill's in good shape. Whenever I see these, and they're a reasonable price, I just get them. That way, if I need to chop it down to fit something or to fit into a particular space where you need a little bit longer drill but not this long, or maybe you need this full thing. So I have a little collection of these, and they kind of come in handy for those oddball jobs. So. Okay, so let's look at some of these close up here. So here's this this Stan Pope handmade little drill gauge here, and you can see the guy's name and the hand stamped increments. Now let's see if we can see these planer marks in here, or the shaper marks. Let me add a little light to this. Maybe that'll help. That help? I don't know. It's hard to tell here. I'll just get a little closer. Anyway, and then that surface too. This surface here was planed also. Anyway, this is a little handmade drill gauge. Pretty cool. And then these are those tweezers. And just take a look at the detail work here, how they're tapered, and they transition from flat into round here, and they're just really nicely made. And zoom in on that, you can see. And then they close up really nice too. They're nice sharp tips. Anyway, just kind of pleasing shape and just nicely made. They caught my attention. So, and then this is the little wax carving tool, and you can see that cutting edge there. And I thought that would make a good deburring tool, for scraping out corners and reaching into little areas that are hard to get to. It's got a name on it too. It's if you can see that, Cleave Dent 36. I don't know. So never heard of them. I haven't looked them up yet. And then here's our close up of our little Indi-cal thing, and here's the tips. You can see these are removable here, and then it's got the indicator holder, and then a little stop screw, and then the contact screw for the indicator tip. And this thing moves back and forth a little bit, so you can get the tip of the indicator right on there. Anyway, handy little tool. Doesn't come up much, but when you need one, you need one. Oh yeah, and then you know, get a little closer to this here. You guys can see that. That's bizarre, isn't it? I don't know what the heck is that thing. So the really cool thing I wanted to show you guys was this little vise I got recently, and this is it's a little tool maker's vise. It's all hardened and ground all over, very nicely ground. Even has some engine turning on this side surface here. It looks like it got a little bit rusty at one point, but somebody, it got cleaned up a little. But the grinding is actually first rate. It's a real high finish, and it's made by the Joseph B. Fakes Company, Royal Oak, Michigan. There's not a lot of information on the web about these. And there's the guy, somebody's name, Raven, that had this thing. And this is a nice little relief too. You can clamp down onto the table or something with that if you need to. And it's got a little removable parallel. It's missing one of them. And you could attach them on either side here and have a little step, but it's missing one. Which I'll probably make another one. Another nice little feature, it's got this little V groove here, so if you want to put a round thing in there, it holds it real well. And let's get some measurements for you guys. So, it's 3.5 inches long and 1 3/4 wide, something like that, and 2 1/4 tall. It's just a nice little vise. I took it apart and lubricated it a little bit and kind of checked it out. But it's very nicely put together, and it's a good little size too. As an insert vise, you can put this in the curt and you can set it up at an angle or clamp it to a sign plate and do a compound angle, something like that. Anyway, I picked this up recently. I paid $100 for this, and but I think it's worth it. It's just a nice little vise. So if you had to get some tool steel, machine all the tool steel, grind it all, yada yada yada, $100 is a bargain for all that work. Now I have some other vices that are kind of like this, but this is just a little bit bigger than my small ones and a little smaller than my big ones. So it's just a kind of a nice intermediate size, and this V groove thing caught my attention. This will probably end up being an apprentice project too. At some point I'll model this up in SolidWorks or something like that, and then these two apprentices that I'm working with right now will end up making a couple of these as a project. So for some of their training for tool making and grinding and stuff like that. So anyway, that was the kind of the cool score recently on the Vise there. Okay, well that's about it for the little tool review. Anyway, you guys have probably figured out that I really like tools a lot. I love looking at tools. I love handling tools. Well, this isn't a tool. At least I don't think it's a tool. We don't know what this is. But I just like the feel of tools and the possibilities that they represent. So man is a tool-using animal, and with tools we can reshape our environment and our surroundings to make them more comfortable or more pleasant or more functional. And that's what this work is about, is using tools and changing the shape and form of different materials. So I hope you guys like tools as much as I do. We'll have these regularly as my collection expands, which I guarantee it will. I can't resist anything that's metal at the flea market. All these catches my eye, and I just bring them home with me. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.